Good evening, Child Development 172. My name is Brittany Chafin, and this is my presentation. I had the pleasure of doing my project on Iran, or the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is, in my opinion, a very misunderstood and underrated country. I have a couple disclaimers. First of all, my cats are going to do that. They're going to get in the way, so my apologies for that. I also apologize for the inevitable mispronunciation of many Iranian words. I am not in the know how to pronounce a lot of the things that we'll be talking about this evening. And finally, I am a bit under the weather, so sorry if I sound it, and sorry if I sneeze, but just a couple facts. We'll get started here. Iran is one of the oldest continuous civilizations in the world, dating back to around 4000 BC. They were referred to as Persia up until 1935, and Iran is actually the country's name in Persian, which is the official country of the language. The Persian language is also known as Farsi. And Farsi shares alphabet with the Arabic language, so it's the Arabic alphabet, and they write from right to left, which I think is quite interesting because, of course, it's very different from how we do it. The capital is Tehran. The population of the country is about 80 million people. And something that I found really interesting about Iran and its people is that it had, and something that I saw on a lot of the references is the average age of the country. The average age of the country I kept seeing and reading about. So the average age of the country is being about 28 years old. So this country is comprised of a lot of young people. And it's something really important to take into consideration when we think about what this class is about, which is education. Think of the obligations that they have to reform their education systems to stay relevant and to keep their people engaged and, literate and educated. So it's, again, something I found really interesting and something that I actually touch on quite a bit in the paper portion of this project. Their religion is Islam. So that's the major religion of the country, with actually 99% of the country as identifying as Muslim. Some of the observances that they have, being Muslim, and of the Islam faith, they do recognize Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, which is something that we learned about in our module. So it's a month of fasting. So it's about a month of self-control, of self-reflection. It's a month of avoidance, so avoiding any, bad thoughts, any bad actions. They're to refrain from sexual activity. And then, of course, what Ramadan is most known for is for fasting. So they actually do not eat from sunrise to sunset. Before the sun rises and after the sunset, they do have a big meal in which they enjoy with their entire family. Okay, buddy, come on. Sorry. Couple other observances. They celebrate a lot of different things, but some of the ones that I found to be the most pertinent or interesting was Nowruz, which it literally translates to new day. So it's the Persian New Year. It actually happens at the spring equinox. So March 21st of every year is their new year, and that it lasts 13 days. So it's quite a celebration, if you can imagine, having a holiday that lasts that long, or being out of school for a holiday for that long. And then another observance of theirs that I was quite partial to was Yalda Night, which actually happens on the winter equinox. So it's on December 21st, which, as many of you may or may not know, is the shortest day of the year. So it's when the daylight is the shortest. And so after that, daylight gets progressively longer and longer. So on Yalda night, they stay up all night. They read poetry. They are with family. They, of course, eat food. And it's the celebration of light over darkness. So I thought that was really, really kind of special. In the middle portion of my board, I really just have some, miscellaneous facts about Iran. I have a picture of the ZD Tower, which is probably their most well-known landmark. It's also known as the Gateway of Iran, and it was built in commemoration of the 2,500th anniversary of the Persian Empire. So again, kind of coming back to that fact that this civilization is very old. And then we have the Iranian flag, which each color, represents something different. And then in the middle, it has the symbol for Allah, which, as we know from our module, is the Arabic word for God. And then at the bottom here is there what used to be in the middle of the flag prior to the revolution, which happened in 1979. And then at the bottom, I kind of just have a map of Iran. The geographical location is actually bordered by 7 different countries. 7, if you can imagine, and 3 bodies of water. So 3 different bodies of water. So with that being said, a lot of exports and imports. I think as most countries are known for in the Middle East, their major export is oil. They also in large export, natural gases. They also export a lot of ceramics and chemicals, fruits, nuts, things like that. So on this portion of the board here, everything's mirrored, so I want to say it's my right side, but I have a lot of things in regards to the education system. So I have, how they kind of flow through the education system. The general education is free, and you are required to enroll your child by the age of 6 into primary school. So it's actually not terribly too different from our school system here in the United States. So they have a primary school in which lasts 5 years. They have a secondary education program that lasts 3 years. And then they have another section of schooling after that, which lasts 3 years. And then they have 1 year of what's called pre-university. So that would be comparable to like our senior year, maybe, in high school. And then after that, they, of course, can advance to the university level. Prior to even being admitted into a university, they have to take an advancement test called the concours. Kind of drawing parallels between their country and ours, it would probably be similar to SATs. But they're known for being extremely difficult and for having a very low passing rate. So it's very difficult to pass the concours and actually get accepted into university in Iran. I also have their grading system. So instead of A, B, C, D, E, F, they actually grade on a scale of 1 to 20. So I thought that was rather interesting. And then I have a picture of what a diploma looks like in Iran, and they're just much more embellished and decorated than ours are. There's a lot more stamps and signatures, and it just looks very official, and I hope that the individuals who receive them feel as accomplished as it looks, because, again, just really intricate. I also have a picture of a classroom with young women or young girls in the classroom. So boys and girls do not go to the same school. men and women are socialized separately in Iran. So that's just something that is, a large difference um, in their country. Men and women really aren't even supposed to be left alone in the same room together. Under no circumstance would that be appropriate, unless they were family or unless they were married. It's, however, not uncommon for, for Iranians to be very affectionate, but it's in regards to same sex. So it's not uncommon for you to see men kissing one another as a greeting. It's not uncommon, for women to do the same. So women will kiss other women that are their friends or family. Women will hold hands with one another, and with no implication that there is anything going on other than that they're friends or family. So it's just something that I think that comes along with with their religion. They're just a little more strict in that regard, and I wouldn't even. I don't even like to view it as strict. They just value modesty in a different way, and this is just something that they view as correct. And kind of coming back to, when we think about the hijab or women being required to cover themselves, because actually hair is, could be viewed as potentially erotic, and so we may view it as unfair that these women have to cover themselves, and why would they allow someone to tell them what they can and cannot do and what parts of their body they can and cannot show? But if you ask, Muslim women, I think that the response that we would see, the overwhelming response we would see, would be that they actually like wearing it. They feel protected. They feel like they're not, subject to any unwanted attention. And, sometimes I feel like I wish I had something to protect me from, cat calls or unwanted stares and things that make me feel uncomfortable. So it's just something to consider, something to think about. I know it's very different, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's right. And then I do have on this side of the page just some of the tangible, like hands-on things that we did with this project. I have 3 photos. I decided to print and share 3 of the 8 photos that I took for my craft. I actually painted Nowruz eggs, which is New Year's eggs. And it's argued that this particular practice, or the Christian practice rather, was adopted from the Persian tradition. So the spring equinox, the Persian New Year, they'll actually decorate eggs and place it on their table, and it's called a haftseen, their table, and they set out lots of different items that represent different things. They set out apples for health, and goldfish, live goldfish in a bowl for to represent the zodiac sign of Pisces, and just all these other different things. But the family will all do this together. You'll find that's a trend with a lot of Iranian things, is because the family is the basis of the social structure. Family is absolutely everything for the Iranian culture. So, I mean, family over everything, over business. In fact, nepotism is viewed as correct. There's nothing wrong with it, to kind of strengthen the bonds of family further and do different things together, such as engage in business. So coming back to the eggs, I digress. The family will decorate these eggs together. They'll place the bowls, or place them in bowls and set their haftseen together. And it's just something that I found to be very admirable about the country is how much they value their family, how much time they spend with their family, and how it kind of trumps everything else in life. So I just thought that was really special. And I have pictures of some of the books that I read, and I actually have some of the books here. So, little known fact I didn't know, the Carlsbad city library system actually has an entire section of children's books that come from other countries. So I was very lucky to kind of find the items that I did. So I have Iran and the Islamic Revolution. I read The Persian Cinderella, very different from the Cinderella story that we probably know and grew up reading or watching. The Seven Wise Princesses. This is just actually a storybook with like a lot of small stories in it. The story of Queen Esther. How did they do that? The Persian Empire. And finally, Counting Through Iran, which is just kind of like a really educational, teaching children to count, all the while providing some random facts about Iran. And then lastly, I have photo, does not look pretty, of the food item that I chose to make, and then its ingredients. I don't know how to pronounce what I made. Starts with the G, garob. I'm gonna, look it up for you. Garmazabzi, and I know that I'm mispronouncing that, but it's kind of like a stew, and it has a lot of fresh parsley and cilantro and just a lot of other herbs, and it's actually like green when all said and done. It's like this super dark green color, but it's got a lot of really great herbs and spices in it. And I don't know, I love Persian food because in addition to making this, I actually went to a Persian restaurant in Delmar. It's something that I had never enjoyed before, and it's kind of a mixture of Greek or Mediterranean food and Indian food, which I personally love both of those. So to kind of enjoy a hybrid cuisine of those two, I was in heaven. They use a lot of herbs. They use a lot of nuts. So you find pistachios like kind of hidden in at random in a lot of different things. And they use a lot of fruit too. So it's something else to consider when it comes to the cuisine is this particular country, many, many, many hundreds of years ago was taken over by a lot of different empires, and so their cuisine has been affected by that. So it's very eclectic. It's very diverse, but it's something in itself. It's very distinct at the same time. So it's really delicious. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to enjoy it. I think, that's kind of it, really. Iran is, again, really underrated, in my opinion. The country is absolutely beautiful. It's not just a big desert. Like you might think, there's beaches, there's mountains, people go skiing there. It's really, when you look a little deeper, and I think that might be the case, that might be the entire purpose of this, is that when you look a little deeper and you take the time to kind of look past your superficial views and your ethnocentrism, you'll find that you really can't judge other cultures and other countries based on your standards, your values, and what you know. So I gleaned a lot of really great knowledge and understanding through this project, and I really thank you for your time, and I look forward to everyone else's presentations, and it's been a great semester. So thank you again for everyone for your professionalism, for lack of a better word, your respect and your comments. So best of luck to everyone. Thank you.